Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, we're talking a little Davante Adams news. Could he be the final weapon added to the New York Jets roster? Apparently, fans are all over this because of a comment made by Craig Carton the other day talking about the Dalvin Cook stuff, but then kind of dribbled a little bit out there saying, oh, I guarantee Davante Adams will be on the phone next when he is sick and tired of the Raiders, and he's going to want to trade. And where's he going to want to trade to? He's going to want to trade to the New York Jets. So this is something that fans have kind of speculated since the Hackett signing as offensive coordinator and the rumors of Aaron Rodgers, and then absolutely, getting Aaron Rodgers. Everyone's thinking, okay, could you wind up getting his former best buddy from Green Bay over to New York? What would that look like? What would the numbers look like? What would a trade look like? How does this kind of make sense for the New York Jets? And how does it make sense for the Raiders? Because you just paid him 5 years, $140 million or whatever his contract was. Monster contract. They gave up the assets to go out and get him. So does it make sense all the way around? The Jets wide receiver room right now, pretty good, pretty deep, if we do say so ourselves. We have our own number 17 that we're super stoked on. That's Garrett Wilson. Absolute stud going into his second year. There's the ball should be fed his direction. You're watching all the catches he's making in camp, the toe taps, the little bit of, he's tough to catch in a phone booth. This guy is incredible. Offensive Rookie of the Year, absolutely going to be a star that is ascending here. He's going to be wide receiver one. When you get down to the second rung, then you start having a little bit of discussion because I think there's Allen Lazard, who you just brought in this year. You have Corey Davis, who you brought in 2 years ago. You're hoping that maybe Corey could stay healthier a little bit more this year, maybe not have as many drops as he had in the last few seasons with Zach under quarterback or under center. What happens with those two? Where do these guys go? Because Lazard obviously has the connection with Rodgers right now. Corey Davis, you could cut him and save $10.5 million. So that's kind of the piece to this whole puzzle that I feel like fans may be looking at like, hey, well, if we can cut the $10.5 million from Corey Davis, then you could save some money to then pay Davante Adams that monster contract. Or maybe you use Corey Davis in some type of trade package. That's probably where I think fans are generally hanging their hats on this sort of thing. Then you have McCole Hardman, you have Randall Cobb, and then you have maybe like a Brownlee or something like that at the back end of the roster that could play a little bit of special teams and have some high upside. So there's a lot of weapons across the Jets wide receiver core and the team in general. I mean, you got the 2 tight ends plus Ruckert, who you drafted last year. You have the running backs in Breece Hall, Izzy, and then possibly Dalvin Cook. We'll kind of find that out. It seems like to be trending that direction. But as of this video, he has not signed with the New York Jets. So wide receiver-wise, there's a lot of weapons and a lot of balls are going to have to get thrown around. How are you going to pass all this stuff around? Davante Adams, though, is interesting. I want to take a look at his contract because I think this is important. Now, if you take a look at this first column here, the base salary, this is what would be the cap charges for the New York Jets if you were to trade for Davante Adams right now. So you're seeing $6 million. Is that $6? Yeah, $6 million and like $16, $17 million for next year. And then his guaranteed money's out, and then you can cut him without any kind of penalty at that point in time. That sounds great. You're like, okay, let's go. Let's sign this dude right now. Nice, easy contract. Don't have to worry about it. The issue comes in for the Raiders. If you look at this far column all the way on the other side over there, you're going to see a bunch of $7.8 million markers right there. What that is it's the prorated bonus. So the prorated bonus is a signing bonus that Davante Adams got at the time of signing his contract, along with any other bonuses that are paid out in the same style. So there was a $20 million bonus that Davante Adams had this year that gets kind of distributed over the course of the remaining years of his contract. Now, I don't know when that money is actually paid out. It was fully guaranteed as of March 17th, I believe. So it is guaranteed already. I just don't know if that particular $20 million bonus has actually been paid out. That's probably the other piece of this puzzle that would be a little more nuanced. I tried looking on Spot Track. I tried looking on Over the Cap, and I couldn't find any details on that. But this $7.8 million bonus that he got initially, while that's not money that needs to be paid out this year because he's already got it, it has to be distributed across all the years of the salary cap. And when you cut or trade a player and they have a big signing bonus, that lump sum for all the years beyond that, so like years 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, that all accelerates to the current year salary cap. So that means Davante Adams for the Raiders it's going to cost them $30 million to trade Davante Adams to another team. That, like, absolutely bonkers. You're not going to do that. The Raiders have $6 million right now. I think what's more likely to happen, I think there's two potential outlets to get Davante Adams in New York, if that's the route you're trying to go. I think the Jets are going to go through this season with their current complement of weapons at wide receiver. I think Corey Davis is one of those players that you want to put some faith in. He's been a good soldier the last 2 years in less than ideal circumstances. Not to mention the Packers tried to trade for Corey Davis at one point while Rodgers was their quarterback. So in some roundabout way, Rodgers does want to play with Corey Davis. I think seeing where he could potentially go, see what happens with him, that's the value right now, because you have someone inside your locker room. Not that players would be upset with getting Davante Adams in any capacity, but I think taking care of your own is important in this as well. Not to mention Corey Davis, top 5 receiver top 5 pick when he was originally drafted, hasn't played with a good quarterback. So seeing him with Rodgers is something that I think a lot of us would like to see. Not to mention he's going into the final year of his contract. So if you can go through an entire season with Corey Davis and he balls out with Aaron Rodgers and he can get a big time contract from another team in the future, you could recoup a compensation pick, because the Jets aren't going to have a crazy ton of cap space in the offseason because we have so many players that are currently under contract. So I don't know comp pick wise if we're going to wind up losing. We might get some good value basically because we don't have a whole lot of cap space to sign free agents, which is how comp picks are all assigned. So Corey Davis, I think, is going to stay here the entire season. Then you talk about, well, what happens if there's an injury? What happens if there's a trade deadline type of situation and the Raiders and Jimmy G can't stay healthy? Davante Adams just wants out because he's not talking to Josh McDaniels or whatever. Maybe that's a situation. Let's say Corey Davis goes down with an injury, trade deadline approaches. What are you going to do? Well, the Jets don't have, or most likely will not have, their first round pick this year because Aaron Rodgers only has to pay 65% of the snaps in order for that first round pick to be sent to the Packers. So more than likely, you're going to be sending that first rounder to the Packers. You do have your second round pick, so you could still get a trade done since the contract is so high. Maybe that's enough to do it. I don't know if you'd have to throw in a conditional pick. Now, the more likely situation I think that could happen is probably Davante Adams in 2024. I think after Corey Davis finishes out his contract, if there was some sort of injury concern or we're looking to upgrade at the position, then maybe there's an opportunity for Davante Adams to come over if the Raiders want to blow everything up and they wind up cutting him to save some salary cap space at that particular point in time, or they try to make a trade in the offseason because actually his salary is guaranteed. So it's going to be $16 million. I don't know. I think you could more than likely make a trade next offseason when the Raiders can split that dead cap over the course of 2 years, because you can designate him a June 1st transaction, and then it winds up splitting that cap hit over 2 seasons. That would be kind of cool because Garrett Wilson, he's supposed to be changing his number from number 17 to number 5 in the offseason, which means number 17 is going to be available. That's certainly possible. The other thing that I think people don't really, maybe you don't have to recognize it, but Davante Adams coming over to help the New York Jets after McDaniels, a Belichick disciple. I don't see him wanting to trade that caliber of player to the Jets after spending 15 years or whatever it was with New England and wanting to just dominate the Jets every single time. Not to mention, it would look awful for the Raiders if Davante Adams gets traded in season for a massive salary cap hit and winds up playing in the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers in Las Vegas. That to me is the telltale sign. Maybe Davante Adams wants to get here. I don't think that's very likely based on all the things that are going into it right now. In the offseason, could be an entirely different story. And I'm totally here for it. You want to give us all the weapons? Let's go. Let's go get a ring. There's a reason why Aaron Rodgers took less money. He wants to bring in the players he wants to bring in. So let's get Dalvin Cook. Let's go out and get Davante Adams. Let's do that. But I'm just saying, I think from a likelihood standpoint, Davante Adams is probably a little bit more of a pipe dream, at least at this point in time. We'll see where the situation goes. Maybe everything becomes toxic in Las Vegas, but I don't think Adams is looking to move just yet. Guys, let me know your thoughts on Davante Adams. Is he going to be a New York Jet at some point this season, next season, at all? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets. Jets!